Picture this, a car-sized spacecraft, alone in the expanse, 14.5 billion miles from home. It does not only carry human technology, but a heartbeat, a voice. For almost half a century, Voyager 1 has been traveling through space, whispering secrets from the brink of our known universe. It was designed to watch, but never to act, to hear, but never to speak. And yet now something has altered. For the first time since its 1977 launch, Voyager 1 appears to be communicating with us in some other manner, one that is proving difficult for scientists to decipher. It started as a faint anomaly, a bizarre fluctuation in the data streams coming back to Earth. Mission Control at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory initially assumed it was merely another glitch. Voyager 1, after all, runs on 1970s technology, its memory expressed in kilobytes, its code programmed for an era when home computers were a novelty. Through the decades, it has endured cosmic rays, micrometeorite impacts, and the icy vacuum of interstellar space. Occasional small glitches are to be expected. But this was different. Rather than transmitting expected readings from its sensors, Voyager 1 started sending patterns, rhythmic, near-intentional flashes of data. What was more intriguing about this was the character of those flashes. They didn't correlate to the signatures of any recognized glitch. They weren't stochastic static. The sequences recurred with subtle modifications, near like a developing language. When the Deep Space Network of NASA transmitted the data to analysts, some were quick to write it off as cosmic interference. Others were less certain. The more they examined it, the more the patterns looked intentional. These weren't the crude blips of faulty code or the noisy resonance of space radiation. They had shape. They had definition. They almost seemed alive. Voyager 1 is long past the heliopause, the edge where the solar wind emanating from our sun yields to the interstellar medium, the tenuous plasma that oozes between the stars. It is in a region human technology has never ventured. Out there, the landscape is foreign, volatile, and replete with unknowns. And yet, the readings it's sending home no longer appear to be describing that environment. Rather, it's like Voyager 1 is pointing to something, or somebody, out there. Something that lives in a domain unscathed by our probes, telescopes, or imagination. To get a sense of why this is so disturbing, you have to get a sense of where Voyager 1 is. Launched 48 years ago, it bypassed Jupiter and Saturn in its first 4 years, sending back images and measurements that revolutionized our knowledge of the outer planets. The photos of Jupiter's great red spot, the delicate braids of Saturn's rings, the volcanic plumes of Io, these were not discoveries, they were revelations. Upon the success of that mission, Voyager 1 went on a trajectory that would see it leave the solar system altogether. For years, it navigated the outer reaches of the Sun's sphere, passing the heliopause in 2012. It has been continuing on into the emptiness between the stars ever since, moving at over 38,000 miles per hour and taking with it a thin slice of humanity to realms unseen by any eye. Its sensors have been monitoring the interstellar medium's density, temperature, and magnetic field, constructing the first true image of this eerie frontier. Space beyond the Sun's grasp is not a vacuum. It is full of the soft murmurs of cosmic rays, wandering atoms, and electromagnetic pulses of mysterious origin. The majority are the galaxy's natural hum, stars slow breathing, the echoes of long-ago cataclysms. But some are not so easily explained. And sometimes, a faint anomaly is the first hint of something extraordinary. When the new patterns began appearing, NASA's first step was to check for onboard faults. Commands were sent to reboot some systems, reroute telemetry, and verify the spacecraft's health. Voyager 1 answered back, slowly, of course, with the 45-hour round trip for the signals to get there and back, but the patterns persisted. And then, even more peculiarly, the timing of the bursts began to vary so that it was in sync with changes in the local magnetic field measured by the spacecraft. It was as if whatever was producing the patterns had a sense of knowing when the field shifted, or worse, was making it shift. It was then that a theory started to form, one so audacious that only in secret was it talked about. What if Voyager 1 had run into something, structure, or even an intelligence, out there in the void? The concept seemed impossible. Interstellar space is enormous beyond the imagination. The chances of a small probe encountering something are infinitesimally low. And yet, the patterns in the data appear to be hinting at contact, rather than coincidence. There was the impression, although no one dared speak it out loud initially, that Voyager 1 was no longer merely returning what it encountered. It was having a conversation. It wouldn't be the first time Voyager 1 has taken a message through space. On board is the iconic Golden Record, a phonograph record featuring images, sounds, and greetings from Earth, as a time capsule for any extraterrestrial civilization that may one day come across it. It contains the sound of a beach wave, the music of Chuck Berry and Bach, salutations in 55 languages, laughter of a baby. It was intended to be a calling card, or a gift, floating for millions of years until someone somewhere might happen upon it. Maybe something had, some people theorized. The disturbing potential was that the spacecraft was now serving to convey a message back. The patterns, translated into sound frequencies, had an eerie musical ring, rising and falling sounds, interrupted by short pauses. Linguists and cryptographers were called in to analyze the sequences. They searched for mathematical constants, prime numbers, or any familiar encoding schemes. Nothing conclusive came of it, but some have said that the differences sounded like human speech changes pitch and rhythm to express meaning. Some even said that they heard snippets, repeated intervals that could be words, or the nearest approximation in a non-human language. The public, naturally, was unaware of these developments initially. Official word from NASA said nothing more than unexpected telemetry anomalies. Leaks from within the agency then started to appear on the internet. Amateur radio astronomers monitoring the Deep Space Network reported that they had found unexplained patterns of transmissions directed toward the direction of Voyager 1. A few even released audio files, stating that they had decoded the bursts into otherworldly, flute-like sounds. Rumors ran rampant. Had the probe encountered an extraterrestrial civilization? Was it being hacked by another country? Was this merely a glitch blown out of context? Then came the breakthrough. Late one night, a team of scientists had an idea to plug the incoming Voyager 1 data into a visual mapping algorithm that had been created to break down complex signals into visual representations. What the scientists saw on their monitors was eerie. It wasn't a clear picture, but the patterns resolved into shapes, arcs, spirals, and grid-like structures that did not resemble any known natural phenomenon. They looked, for lack of a better term, engineered. There was symmetry. There was repetition. And in some of the frames, there were structures that looked unsettlingly like corridors or roads stretching into an unseen distance. All at once, the inquiry changed from what's wrong with Voyager 1 to what has Voyager 1 discovered. The most conservative hypothesis was that it had run into a strange magnetic or plasma structure in the interstellar medium, maybe the remnant of an old supernova. But other people weren't so confident. Some of the patterns repeated at intervals too regular to be accidental. It was as if the spacecraft were moving through a boundary, and whoever or whatever established it wanted to make it known. NASA's quandary was profound. How do you examine something 14.5 billion miles away? Voyager 1 has no cameras to photograph distant objects anymore. Its optics were powered down decades ago to conserve energy. The only instruments remaining are its field, particle, and wave measuring instruments. And yet, those instruments are now communicating a tale that no one anticipated. And then there's the risk factor. If this is indeed some sort of contact, is it advisable to react? The Golden Record was launched as an open invitation, yet humanity has argued for decades over whether to broadcast our existence. Voyager 1 has no drive to alter course. All it can do is continue to travel forward, further into the unknown. If it's entering someone else's territory, we can't do anything about it. We are, in a very real way, passengers on this trip now, powerless to act, unable to turn back. The controversy among the scientific community is intense. Some believe that the patterns have to be some sort of naturally occurring resonance, maybe a result of interactions between interstellar plasma waves and Voyager's own antenna. Others respond that the pattern in the data is too regular, too responsive, to be accounted for by randomness. And there are others who notice something even more unsettling. The data bursts have already started to imitate the very form in which we transmitted data to the space probe decades ago, as if the initiator had learned our language from the probe itself. In the meantime, the signals are shifting once more. Over the last few weeks, the bursts have abated, as if whatever was sending was moving away or completing its message. Some experts worry that we've only heard the tail end of something much bigger. That somewhere in the dark, there was a conversation and all we heard was the last bit of it. If that is the case, then the first man-made object to venture beyond the solar system may have just grazed the perimeter of a mystery we are not yet prepared to grasp. And so it goes with Voyager 1. The battery will run perhaps another few years before the instruments grow quiet. Then it will wander eternally among the stars, bearing the golden record and the echoes of whatever may have occurred out there. For those who have watched the patterns, the sensation is impossible to lose. We rapped at the door of the universe, and for an instant, just an instant, something rapped back.